I think I'm finally done itching after that last episode.
Itch.
And with that, we are actually preparing to go on vacation soon, which makes me want to ask you this question. You ready? Because you don't seem ready. Okay. You don't seem ready because you're like half the room across from the microphone.
And my dog is looking like,
Oh, you're definitely not ready. Oh, you are ready for this. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
You ever gone on a trip, maybe taking your dog somewhere, your family, and then everyone came home with the same souvenir?
I think I know where this is going.
I'm not talking about a t-shirt or a postcard, but I'm talking about a stomach bug.
Unfortunately, I think that's a pretty common vacation souvenir.
It's actually impressive how efficient our children are at finding germs on a trip. It's like you bring a kid on a trip and boom, it could be a water park, a splash pad, camp, barbecue, airport. If there is a bug anywhere around, kids are going to find it.
The good news is that many of the illnesses we see every summer are preventable. A few simple habits can dramatically reduce your family's risk of spending vacation in the bathroom instead of enjoying yourself at the poolside.
Yeah, I mean, when you're giving me the option of bathroom versus pool, I'm definitely team pool.
Remember when we went on vacation and I was like, is it worth the $1 extra to get a private bathroom in the hostel?
Yes, we were traveling in South America. I was a medical student, broke. You were an undergrad student, also broke, and you didn't want to pay for the private bathroom.
For $1 a day.
I convinced you that it was probably worth $1. We didn't have a lot of money, but like $1 was probably worth it. And then you spent the entire vacation in the bathroom. And I kept being like, is it worth $1 now? You were just like dying in the bathroom. It's one of the funniest memories in retrospect.
It was not that fun for me.
Now we know the value of $1.
Rolling forward, Dr. Sister Science Facts.
So welcome back to this week's episode of the Rolling Forward podcast. I'm Dr. Stephanie Rolin. I'm a psychiatrist.
And I'm Dr. Alicia Rolin. I am a pediatrician.
We started this podcast because we know parents are constantly being bombarded with health information. Some of it is accurate, some of it isn't. And our job is to try to help cut through this nonsense and bring you practical information that will help you make an informed decision for your family.
This summer, we're doing something a little different. Ta-da! Welcome to our summer school series. It's our special summer series where we share lessons from the pediatric emergency room with one goal, helping your family enjoy everything summer has to offer while avoiding unnecessary trips to the emergency department.
And today's lesson is summer stomach bugs. We're going to talk about where kids somehow pick up these gastrointestinal illnesses during summer. It could be a pool, picnic, splash pad, cookout, and we'll share practical evidence-based ways to keep your family healthy all summer long. So let's get started.
Rolling forward, Dr. Sister Science Facts.
So before we dive into pools, picnics, let's take a step back. When people hear stomach bug, I think they tend to think it's one illness, but that's not really the case, is it?
Not at all. Stomach bug, or sometimes even stomach flu, is really a catch-all term that parents use to describe vomiting and diarrhea. And there are actually many different viruses, bacteria, and parasites that can cause these symptoms. And despite the name stomach flu, none of them are actually the flu.
I was going to say.
The good news is that from a prevention standpoint, you don't have to memorize all the different types of pathogens in order to prevent them.
So break it down for us without the confusing pathogen names that I had to learn in medical school.
There are 3 main ways to get an illness that causes vomiting and diarrhea.
This is the information I actually needed.
The first is from people. Many stomach viruses like norovirus spread incredibly easy from person to person. Think about summer camps, family reunions, daycare, birthday parties, and importantly, cruise ships. These are all great opportunities for germs to spread.
No cruise ships. Noted.
Second, you can get them from water. Pools, splash pad, water parks, lakes, and other recreational water can spread GI illnesses if germs get into that water and then you drink that water.
You were making the local pool so much less fun.
Way less fun.
So much. We live
Just
a
wait.
block from a local pool, and I feel like a balloon that's just deflated.
It closes next week. And the third big way is through food. Summer cookouts, picnics, and barbecues are wonderful traditions, but food that's improperly prepared or left out too long can allow some bacteria to grow.
So it sounds like when a child gets sick after a vacation, it could be food, but it could also be people or water. So it's not always fair to blame the last thing that they ate.
Parents often ask, was it the hamburger? And sometimes it was, and sometimes it wasn't. It's not always possible or often even necessary to really identify the exact source of where or how someone got sick. The more important question is how can we reduce the risk to prevent this next time?
Which is exactly what we're going to spend the rest of today's episode talking about. So let's start with one of my favorite parts of summer, which is spending a day at the pool, maybe a water park, the splash pad. And I mean, who hasn't accidentally swallowed a little bit of the water there? It happens. It happens.
Accidentally on purpose, sometimes.
Maybe more than once.
And while we all joke about drinking the pool, it actually gives us a really good opportunity to talk about something called recreational water illnesses.
Words I did not know.
These are illnesses that spread through water in places like swimming pools, splash pads, lakes, hot tubs.
So like a dirty pool.
Not necessarily.
Uh,
Even pools that are properly maintained can occasionally spread illness. One of the biggest culprits is a parasite called Cryptosporidium.
Often known as crypto, but not the kind of crypto that you would invest in.
Although this crypto can also leave you regretting all of your decisions.
It's true.
According to the CDC, crypto is one of the most common causes of recreational water outbreaks in the U.S.
I just keep having Bitcoin jokes. And the reason that crypto is so challenging is that the actual parasite has a really tough outer shell that allows it to survive despite being in a properly chlorinated pool for an extended period of time, days.
Most people assume that chlorine kills everything instantly.
But that's actually a big misconception because while chlorine is incredibly important and you prevent many infections, it doesn't actually eliminate every germ. And that's why one of the CDC's most important recommendations is actually about people in the water, not the water itself. So if you or your child has diarrhea, they recommend staying out of the water.
And that's even when they start feeling better. And if your child has been diagnosed specifically with Cryptosporidium, the CDC recommends waiting at least 2 weeks after the diarrhea has completely stopped before swimming again.
Understandably, it can feel disappointing to miss a few pool days. But keeping your kid out of the water is one of the best ways to prevent an outbreak that could spread and affect dozens, or, depending on the size of your pool, hundreds of other families.
I think a lot of parents assume that swim diapers solve the problem.
Which swim diapers can be helpful, but when you really start to think about them, it's not that great. They're not leak-proof.
I mean, they're purposefully designed to allow water to flow in and out because otherwise your child would inflate like a balloon.
Can you imagine they get in the water and boom? It's like, I always think about the character in Willy Wonka who eats the blueberry and goes boom. And that's what would happen to a swim diaper if it actually absorbed liquid. So swim diapers aren't designed to absorb liquid or to contain diarrhea, which sometimes is liquid. And that's why the CDC recommends that is not sufficient.
You should also, with your child in a swim diaper, take regular bathroom breaks, especially because pee-pee goes right through.
Probably good to take regular bathroom breaks with any child in a pool, honestly.
You should check diapers frequently, change diapers away from the pool, not in the pool, around the pool, on the deck, and wash your child's hands with soap and water before getting back in them.
These are small steps, but they can make a surprisingly big difference because I think we all know it's disgusting, but kids do swallow pool water.
I don't actually even think it's that disgusting, but now that I'm like learning about all the crypto in the water, it's like way more disgusting than I previously was thinking about.
And the baby pee. I mean, it's
I mean, like
disgusting.
all the amount of feet that were in that water over the course of one day.
No, it is. It's always been disgusting.
It's not been disgusting to me, but now it's newly disgusting.
It's disgusting. And, a little accidental splash of water in the mouth, it happens to the best of us. But really encouraging kids not to get in the habit of drinking or swallowing recreational water is another simple way to reduce the risk of gastrointestinal illness.
So let's leave this murky pool water and head to a more delicious part of summer.
Ugh, I don't even know where you're going with this.
A backyard barbecue.
Oh, okay. I'm into barbecues. I like it because I think, we've all had fun, but also we've all had that potato salad. I know potato salad actually gets blamed for a lot. And the truth is that food poisoning actually comes from many different foods. And, sometimes what seems like food poisoning could actually be a viral stomach bug that just happened to show up after a cookout. But the good news is that many foodborne illnesses are preventable.
So what's the biggest mistake that people make?
Leaving food out too long. The USDA and CDC recommend following what's called a 2-hour rule, and that perishable foods shouldn't be left at room temperature for more than 2 hours. That makes sense, but sometimes, you're having people over for a barbecue, you put food out, now your child needs to take a nap, you put them down, the 5-minute bedtime routine becomes a 45-minute bedtime routine, and now you're covered in spit, possibly, you're taking a shower or changing. Very easily becomes 2 hours. And honestly, if it's a really hot day, anything above 90 degrees Fahrenheit, that window shrinks to just 1 hour.
Those summer temperatures allow bacteria to multiply much more quickly.
And that tray of hamburgers sitting on the picnic table all afternoon, it's just not a great idea.
The same goes for foods like chicken, hot dogs, pasta salad, and anything that needs refrigeration. You need to keep cold foods cold and hot foods hot.
What about cooking meat? As a vegetarian, I don't really know. Is that still a problem? Or is meat good?
Undercooked ground beef and poultry remain a common source of foodborne illness.
Another reason to be a vegetarian.
Using a food thermometer is much more reliable than judging by color alone, especially on the grill. Or you could just have a black bean burger.
Yeah, a black bean burger won't have those problems. It's also really important to avoid cross-contamination. So if you have one cutting board that raw meat is on, and then another cutting board that food ready to eat is on, like fruits or vegetables, they shouldn't mix. And then wash your hands, cutting boards, knives, anything that's going from raw meat to prepared foods.
A lot of this really just comes down to basic food safety. The USDA summarizes it as clean, separate, cook, and chill.
And I think we know that when we're inside our kitchens, but sometimes when we're outside in the backyard, we're having a barbecue, everything just feels chill. Sometimes it can feel hard to remember to follow those same rules.
You have limited supplies at a park. You just reuse what you have, and all of a sudden you have raw meat strawberries.
So while these are simple habits, following them both indoors and outdoors, at your home and at the park, can go a long way towards preventing your birthday party or a holiday weekend or a family get-together from ending with the whole family bonding in the porta potties.
That is a vivid image that I would like to avoid.
Truly.
So speaking of vacations, we started this episode talking about the stomach bug nobody wants to bring home as a souvenir. Does traveling, especially international, change anything that you should think about?
And this is important as we're about to go on an international trip ourselves. And the reality is that depending on where you're traveling to, these different gastrointestinal illnesses can come from contaminated food, water, or even the organisms that can cause it can be different from the typical stomach viruses that kids will pick up at your home.
But the basics of prevention are pretty simple. Pay attention to food and water safety, wash hands with soap and water when possible, and be especially cautious about food that may not have been cooked thoroughly or water that might not be safe to drink.
And let's say that you do come home and your child has diarrhea. When does travel history start to matter?
If the symptoms are severe, bloody, associated with a significant fever, or aren't improving as you expect, definitely mention your recent travel to your pediatrician. Depending on where you traveled, we might consider infections that we don't routinely test for in children in the United States. Things like typhoid or hepatitis A. Where you've been, what your child ate or drank, And whether anyone else on the trip got sick can help us all decide whether testing or treatment might be needed.
And the reality is that despite our best efforts to navigate pools, food, travel, sometimes kids are going to get sick and you are going to come home with these souvenirs. How do parents know when it's time to call the pediatrician? I mean, I just have you on like auto text. Immediately, I'm like sending you a photo. What do I do?
Don't send me a photo.
When should parents call their pediatrician?
The good news is that most stomach bugs improve on their own with supportive care, but there are a few warning signs that deserve medical attention. One of the biggest is persistent vomiting, especially if your child can't keep down even small sips of water. I'd also be concerned if there's blood in the diarrhea, severe abdominal pain, fevers, particularly if your child's acting ill or not like themselves, especially if you've traveled internationally recently.
And what about dehydration? We just talked about that quite a bit in our recent episode about heat.
Exactly. So we won't rehash all of that today, but dehydration from heat or dehydration from body losses like fever and diarrhea are very similar. If your child's not peeing as much as usual, is unusually sleepy or difficult to wake up, has a very dry mouth, or isn't able to drink enough to replace what they're losing, it's time to seek some medical care.
And that's especially true for infants who can become dehydrated more quickly than older children, which brings up the question of how long should these illnesses last?
These vomiting and diarrheal illnesses generally last less amount of time than respiratory viruses.
I feel like it's Game of Thrones. Like, which thing would you rather have?
They often last 1 to 3 days, but it is not unusual for certain strains to last sometimes 7 to 10 days, which is miserable.
That sounds miserable. I'm ready to tap out.
If symptoms are persistent or they're getting worse instead of better, or you're worried that something just doesn't seem right, it's always appropriate to reach out to your pediatrician. One thing I always tell families is that I much rather answer a question early than have someone wait until their child is much sicker.
So a lot of these stomach bugs, they're unpleasant, but they'll be self-limited. But families can recognize those uncommon situations where they need additional medical care.
Where things just don't seem the way they usually do when your child's vomiting and having diarrhea.
And before we wrap up class today, I'm going to put you into a quick final exam. If you wanted parents to remember just 3 things from today's episode, what would they be?
Number 1, wash your hands. It sounds simple, but hand washing with soap and water is still one of the best ways to prevent stomach bugs from spreading, especially before eating and after using the bathroom, and really importantly, after changing diapers.
What about hand sanitizer? My 3-year-old is obsessed with Purell right now.
Hand sanitizer can be really convenient and you can just have it in the diaper bag. But when it comes to stomach bugs, soap and water is really the best bet. Some viruses that cause vomiting and diarrhea, especially your friend norovirus, is not easily removed with hand sanitizer alone.
And number 2.
Practice healthy swimming habits. Don't swim if you have diarrhea. Encourage kids not to swallow pool water as much as you can. And remember that swim diapers help, but they are not designed to retain liquid.
And the last one?
Keep food safe. Don't leave perishable foods sitting out for hours in the summer heat. Cook meats thoroughly. And remember, clean, separate, cook, chill.
And overall, our point today, it's not about avoiding summer fun. I love summer fun. It's about making summer a little safer. We want you to go to the pool, have the barbecue, send your kids to camp, take that vacation. Summer is meant to be enjoyed.
Most stomach bugs are preventable, but even when they do happen, most children recover with a little time, a little fluid, and some supportive care.
Also known as couch and possibly television. And with that, class is officially dismissed.
Rolling forward, Dr. Sister Science Facts.
Thank you for joining us, and we hope that you'll join us next week for another installment of our summer school, where we're going to take on another topic to help keep your family healthy and safe out of the emergency department this summer.
Until then, you can find us on social media or send us an email at rolin_show. That's ROLIN_show @gmail.com.
And leave us a 5-star review. Share this with someone if you found it helpful. Take care.
Rolling forward, Dr. Sister Science
So you don't have to spend 24 hours locked in the bathroom, sleeping on the floor.
I like how your day is automatically 28 hours because that's the maximum number of hours you can work in a row in a hospital. And so instead of thinking of one day is 24, you were immediately like 28.
A shift is 28 hours.
One day shift is 28 hours.